This is our last installment of the series on illustration of indifference principle. And now what we're going to do, this is going to be a little bit different, but we're going to look at the case when the indifference principle may not hold, at least for most people. And the setting's basically the same, but I'm changing just a few things. The setting now is profits before rent or subsidy equals $47,000. So if the farmer didn't get any subsidy and didn't have to pay land rent, their profits would be $47,000. All farmers rent their land, and I'm assuming here there's no government subsidy. Just like before, people can choose between working in industry, which has a salary of $40,000, or they can farm, rent land and farm. And what's different now is that I'm going to assume people are different. Before, everybody had the same talents and everybody had the same taste. First, I'm going to say that some people have different tastes. And what I mean here is that this is someone, and I purposely chose him to look like have a pitchfork. He's the farmer. And this person, he prefers farming to industry labor, meaning he is willing to take $5,000 less in income to be able to farm instead of work at the industry. And so the personal value he pays on farming is $5,000. He's willing to give up to $5,000 to farm instead of working industry. These people down here, picture of someone who looks like you're working in factory, these are people who, they don't really value farming or industry over the other. So if there's more money to be made in the industry, even if it's $500 more a year, even if it's $50 more a year, they're going to go work in industry. Now, I purposely chose more people who look like an industry labor than people who look like a farmer to reflect the fact that I'm assuming here that there's very few people who really prefer being farmer and place a value on it, and that most people in the world are ambivalent about whether they work in the factory or farm. So let's think about what's going to happen here. We need to first know what land rent's going to be. The farmer certainly knows, the landowner certainly knows that he can charge something for rent. Like the landowner's not charging anything, so first let's see what the landowner charges $1,000 for rent. If rent is only $1,000, then the profits from the benefits from farming is $46,000. And what I'm doing here, I'm assuming I'm putting the value of farming here at 0 because I'm looking at these people. The reason I'm doing that is because if these people don't value farming at all and land rent's just $1,000, the benefit from farming is $46,000, and all these people are going to want to start farming. And as all these people leave the industry to start farming, then they bid up the rent of land. And maybe land rent goes to $6,000. In that case, the benefit to farmers for the people who are ambivalent about where they work is now $41,000. The benefits to farming is still greater than the benefits to working in industry labor, so even more people are going to leave labor to work in the industry, and eventually they're going to bid up the land rent to $7,000, at which point they are indifferent about whether they are going to work in industry or whether they are going to farm. Now let's look at this person. We know that this person is going to be farming because he's only one person, and one person is not enough to change land rent, because he's going to come over here and rent land and he's going to be happy. These people are going to move back and forth until the indifference principle holds, and we're going to end up at a point of indifference where most people are indifferent between working in industry and labor, and so that land rent is still the same as before, but as there's one person, for this person in particular, because he does value farming at $5,000, he's not indifferent between farming and industry labor. The benefits to farming from him was $45,000, and the benefits to being in industry is $40,000. So he's clearly not indifferent. But the point here is that the indifference principle doesn't have to work for everyone. Our story is the same even when we had one person who was different, because all these other people are so similar. They're going to be the one, and there's so many of them, they're going to be the one that moves market prices. And this person is just lucky that he has just a peculiar enough taste that he can be in an industry that he actually prefers and isn't indifferent towards. Now let's look at one other thing. Suppose we change this story such that this person is still different. The person who looks like the farmer is still different from all the people who look like factory workers. And what's different about this person? This person may not value being a farmer any more than other people, but this farmer can make $5,000 more farming than others. Well, we're going to see the story we just told is still the same. If land rent's different from $7,000, these people are going to move from one location to the other to make it $7,000. For instance, if land rent was less than $6,000, all these people would come over here and want to rent land. This person's already going to be there. We'll talk about that in a minute. And as these people move from industry to farming, they're going to bid up the land rent till it's $7,000. Now suppose land rent was $10,000. Let's say too much. Well, in that case, all these people are going to prefer industry. They're going to start leaving farming to go work in industry, and the landowner has to bring land rent back down to $7,000 to keep them there. And then what's going on with this person? Well, for this person, the value of farming for them is still zero, just like everybody else. But now they can make more money than other people. This particular farmer can make $5,000 more farming than others. So whereas other people made $47,000 in profit before land rent and such, this person will be able to make $52,000 in land rent before rent. But rent's still going to be the same, because even though he is particularly talented, these other people are not. They're going to be the ones that move the market. And so this person is once again fortunate in that he can farm and he's not indifferent. He prefers farming. But again, the point of all this is that the indifference principle does not have to hold for it to work in a certain way. In fact, the prices you get using the indifference principle here, when one person is different from others, is the same as the prices you get when you assume everybody's the same. If most people, it can be that the indifference principle works such that either most people are indifferent between all actions, or that the average person is indifferent between all actions.